All right, how y'all guys doing? So the story online is that Aleister Black is buried, and that Aleister Black is Vince McMahon hates Aleister Black. Then he loves him, but he hates him, but he treats him like shit. And this is a bizarre situation. So for those who don't know, Aleister Black debuted in the WWE in I think early 2019. So I think January. He was in a tag team with Ricochet for a long time. People complained about that. They didn't think they should be in a tag team. Then Aleister Black moved to Raw in April of 2019. He's been on Raw ever since. He spent a lot of time sitting in the closet making these promos, talking about, you know, wanting people to challenge him, to fight him. Then people complained about that because it went on for quite a while. It went on for several months of Aleister Black being in closets. I think he was on SmackDown during this time though. So yeah, I think he was on SmackDown, making challenges and having really good matches when he did come out the closet. He was pretty much come out the closet. When he did come out of the dark room, let's just say the dark room because I don't want to give people the wrong idea because his wife is hot. But if you when he came out of the dark room, he had pretty good matches. Cesaro and Buddy Murphy and those types of guys. He was really killing it. Then he moved to Raw, and what happens when you move to Raw? You already know what happens when you move to Raw. You get fucked over because the bigger stars are always on Raw. There is no room for anybody to really get over. And then so the story started to come out. Aleister Black gets mixed up with this whole Rey Mysterio, Dominic, Seth Rollins and his cult. He gets mixed up in all this stuff. So a lot of people don't really understand. Again, some of it is people not understanding basic storytelling, but it's also people who are impatient with storytelling. Now, the story, as far as is Seth Rollins is a cult leader who, for some reason, keeps fighting these weird menagerie of baby faces. So it's like this weird team of Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens. It's like what they really have nothing, except for maybe dinner in common. The two fat guys, but that's pretty much it. But now the new menagerie is that Seth Rollins is fighting Humberto Carrillo, Rey Mysterio's son, and Aleister Black. Initially, when this storyline started, it was 3-on-1. It was basically Seth Rollins trying to kill Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio's son got involved because it was Seth Rollins, Murphy, and what's that kid's name? Austin Theory. And they were trying to kill Rey Mysterio for vague reasons, vague heelish reasons. Something that had to do with higher powers and greater goods. I can't believe Seth Rollins talks so much, and I don't know what the character is about. I have no idea. He's just like and maybe that's kind of what the religious part of it is. Is just all mumbo jumbo. But anyway, he wanted to sacrifice Rey Mysterio. He took one of Rey Mysterio's eyeballs, and then they created this feud. Just ended up with these guys were just fighting each other way too much, and these guys and they're stuck in a rut where they just all going in a circle. Just Umberto, Aleister Black team, or they're just fighting Seth Rollins over and over and over again. So after Rey Mysterio loses his eyeball, his second eyeball at a I can't believe I said this. He's been blinded. So at Extreme Rules, Rey Mysterio now has no working eyeballs. This was the next night, which was July the 21st or the 20th rather. Aleister Black lost only his third singles match. So it's crazy that he's been buried and he's only lost his third singles match to Seth Rollins. And then he was summarily beaten to shit by Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. Or Murphy. His name is not Buddy anymore. So they stomped his hand, really destroyed his arm, which was a great angle. It was a great angle. It shows that Rollins and Murphy are serious. That they're not taking, they're not showing any mercy. So on July the 28th, Aleister Black tries to help Dominic, who comes out to fight Murphy and Seth Rollins. Aleister Black comes out and he gets beaten up again, gets his eye jammed into the steps. So now he's blind in one eye. Seth Rollins has his eye fetish. And now people are online complaining and crying that Aleister Black has been buried by the WWE and the evil Vince McMahon. So this part of this article, I'm going to read two different articles. One of them is from Tom Colohue from Sportskeeda, and the other one is going to be from Alex McCarthy from TalkSport. They're going to give different ideas of what's going on with Aleister Black. Then I'm going to give you my thoughts because it's basic storytelling, if you ask me. Which, again, is people are impatient. I could be wrong. Let's say that for up front. It's not a report. I'm just saying from storyline perspective, certain things that needs to be done in order for it. But we'll get there. So from Sportskeeda, what Vince McMahon really thinks of Aleister Black's position in WWE. Aleister Black is no longer the force that he was on WWE Raw ever since Paul Heyman left. Aleister Black's role has seemingly sunk to that of side character. There have been multiple reports on Aleister Black's position on WWE Raw no longer being that of a top contender and that he might lose his push. After Seth Rollins took out Aleister Black's arm last week, it appeared as though Vince McMahon was having Aleister written off TV as he did not see anything in him. Okay, continuing. Following from reports from Tom Colohue stating that Vince McMahon felt that there were something missing from Aleister Black's current gimmick from WWE Raw, and they've updated the article to state the Alex McCarthy position. So let's just read what they have to say. Then we'll get to the Alex McCarthy thing eventually. Okay, the report further stated that Aleister Black drank the Heyman Kool-Aid and was very disappointed when Heyman had to leave his position as Raw Executive Director. However, now it has been confirmed that any report that Vince McMahon is giving up on Aleister Black, blah, blah, blah. So, what's next for the superstar? Apparently, before somebody came along and told them otherwise, somebody decided to spread the rumor that Aleister Black was going to get buried and that he's going to get written off TV. Now, I believe he did get written off TV because the eye poke thing has been pushed as being something that is pretty brutal, because Rey Mysterio was off TV for a long time after he got his eye gouged with the steel steps. And I would imagine having your eye pressed against metal would kind of put you at home for a little while. But so this is the Alex McCarthy Talk Sport piece from July 28th, 2020. So let's talk about this. It says, recent reports have suggested that Vince McMahon is not a very big fan of the ultra-talented Aleister Black. The Dutchman has been a consistent part of Raw during the pandemic era in 2020 and has been strongly booked for the past year. It's worth noting that his loss to Rollins last week on Raw was only his third singles loss in over a year. The only men to beat him, Rollins again, and AJ Styles. Sportskeeda's Tom Colohue has suggested that McMahon has a change of heart on Black and that he is conflicted at the very least. He said, things have really changed in the last couple of weeks for Aleister Black. Now Paul Heyman definitely loved him, and Aleister Black was really the headline of the show for him. Not really. To my knowledge, it is Vince McMahon who has mixed opinions, shall we say. To put it bluntly, Vince thinks there is something missing about Aleister Black. It's similar to how he feels about Cesaro. Oh, he pulled the Cesaro card. Jesus. After reaching out to sources, TalkSport has learned that Vince McMahon is a huge fan of Tom Budgen, the man behind Aleister Black. Vince is a huge fan of the performer and of Tommy, size, agility, skill, but he is worried the character is a gimmick and will limit him, the source disclosed. Some remnants of Colohue's report certainly have merit. Paul Heyman certainly was a huge fan of Black. From what we understand, Black also liked Heyman. Our sources say Black drank the Kool-Aid, as many have before, and was disappointed when Brock Lesnar's advocate departed a top position on Raw. Any idea that Vince McMahon is giving up on Black, though, are absolute nonsense. Black is clearly one of the most talented performers on Raw, and while McMahon may feel his character is a little narrow, many might argue that they haven't explored the darker elements of his character enough. How WWE would rebrand is anyone's guess, but he does have a legitimate kickboxing background to lean on in matches that matches his in-ring style. Okay, which is, I don't know what's up with wrestling journalists ending on weird notes like that. Like, okay, why would you end an article on his kickboxing style? That's weird. Okay, so let's talk about this. uh, as I've said many times on this channel, you have to put the babyface in a hole. Okay. Now, for some people, there are matches. There are in story. There's a beginning, middle, and end. That stands for feuds and it stands for matches. Now, there's this talking point that Aleister Black is just some type of lackey of Rey Mysterio. Of course, they have no evidence of this. Aleister Black similarly is doing this on his own. Like, he was never asked to help Rey Mysterio. He just did it because he doesn't like Seth Rollins, which makes sense because Seth Rollins is an asshole. So, but Humberto Carrillo actually looks up to Rey Mysterio. That was his reason for being involved in this, because he's, Mexican, and Mexicans, and Rey is a legend. And of course, Dominic is Rey Mysterio's son. So the outlier of his whole thing has been Aleister Black. He's just kind of been doing this on his own, kind of as something, because he had nothing else to do. We know that as far as the office is concerned, but the character's motivations is that he just doesn't really like Seth Rollins. So he tries to fight. They usually win. Aleister Black usually wins most of the matches he's in. Again, this is only his third singles loss in over a year, which makes him one of the most protected wrestlers in the company's fucking history. But let's discuss the why he got his eye gouged. So a lot of people, I've seen this, like, I enjoy wrestling a lot more when I'm not on Twitter. Because when you see things on Twitter, you get really upset, because people get these talking points from these commentators and these wrestling journalists, and from these articles where people are like, oh, Vince McMahon gave up on him, and then you get all these 400 quotes and all this type of stuff, and people just repeating the same thing over and over again. Like, unless you guys are fucking Professor Xavier or Vince McMahon himself said it, nobody knows what the fuck Vince McMahon thinks about Aleister Black. But let's go into storytelling. We got the motivations of the character. He just doesn't like Seth Rollins. He gets mixed up in Seth Rollins. He beats Seth Rollins a couple of times too in these matches. Now, I do agree that he has been fighting these guys way too much, over and over again with these same guys. People have said that he fought Murphy too much. He's only feuded with Murphy. I agree. He's had too many matches with Murphy. He had too many matches with Seth Rollins. He needs to move on. But we're stuck here now. So we have to tell the story that we're telling, not just, abandoning shit on the story just because some people think it's repetitive, even though I agree it is repetitive. So then you have he's engaged in this feud with Seth Rollins and Murphy, and Austin Theory is gone. I'm guessing they're still investigating his speaking out accusation. Who knows whether he'll be back or not. So Rey Mysterio gets his eye gouged. The next night, Aleister Black is seemingly on his own. Now, they've been doing this really interesting thing where occasionally they will have one of the guys that feud with Seth Rollins will get isolated. And that guy will usually get his ass kicked because he's one guy and he's fighting Seth Rollins, who was main event of WrestleMania, beat Brock Lesnar. He's the top guy. Okay, so you're not going to just beat him up, especially if he's got help. So a couple of weeks ago, they beat up Humberto Carrillo. I don't know. I don't remember what date it was, but they beat up Humberto Carrillo where they put the Rey Mysterio mask on him and they jammed his face into the steps. Nobody helped him. At least I don't believe anybody helped him. So after that, they took out Rey. Both Rey's eyes are gone. The night after they took out Rey, which was Extreme Rules, so the 19th, the 21st, or the 20th rather. I'm sorry. They took out Aleister Black's arm. They stomped on his arm. They really destroyed it. Like, they went overboard. So then on the 27th, they come back. Dominic Mysterio is out there to fight Seth Rollins for blinding his dad. Great fucking story. Dominic is getting his ass beat. And Aleister Black runs out there with his arm bandaged up. And he gets beaten up. And so, but he manages to distract the people, distract Rollins and Murphy long enough for Dominic Mysterio to get a kendo stick and to fight him off with the kendo stick. Powerful moment. That was some good shit. Okay, Dominic Mysterio showing some intensity, showing some balls, He's a kid. He's out there defending his dad, beating the shit out of these guys. Unfortunately, it did make Aleister Black look like a chump because he got pretty much, again, he got his ass kicked. Then he got his eye pushed, his shit pushed in, and his eyeball pushed into the steps by Buddy Murphy. So that leads everybody to thinking, oh well, he's just weak. He's nothing. He's blah blah blah. But again, story. He's already injured from the previous week. Okay, he got his arm stomped. He's fighting two guys with one arm. Of course, he's going to lose that fight. And Dominic is not a wrestler. So Dominic is a kid trying to defend his dad. In storyline, it would make sense for beat up Aleister Black and get chased off by a guy wielding a weapon. Okay, that makes sense. So what does any of this have to do with Aleister Black maybe getting written off TV? Is it possible? Well, I say, well, yes, because again, they've told the story with this eyeball thing that if you get your eyeball jammed into the steps, you're going away for at least a week. Okay, so you're going away for a while if you get your eyeball pressed onto these stairs. And so maybe that's what they're going to do. Now, this part is going to be complete conjecture on my part, like as far as storytelling elements go. You've shown me how strong the heels are. Okay, now the WWE doesn't really do strong heels, so this is really interesting as far as I'm concerned. It's as far as Seth Rollins, is that he's been booked quite well, even though he did lose like random matches for no reason. Is that now the heels are so strong, there needs to be a hero to rise up against them. Now, that hero could be Dominic, but Dominic is only 19. It's probably not going to work that way. He may be involved in the match, but I don't think he's going to be like the hero of the story. Humberto Carrillo is ESL, English Second Language. Probably not going to work, And I think that, could it be Ray? Ray is blind right now. So I think that leaves the hero of the story to be Aleister Black. But of course, that would be, I guess, again, that's basic storytelling that Aleister Black is going to come back from this eye injury, darker, more sinister, more intent to end Seth Rollins. And now sort of everything up to this point has sort of been a preamble of Aleister Black being too nice, too friendly. And now he's going to be a little bit more darker, a little bit more evil, a little bit more, and maybe he's actually going to turn heel. And that might be it, because it might be a thing where nobody helped me. I'm not helping anybody. I'm just going to do this because I don't like Seth Rollins, which could be the case. But the idea that he's going to be buried, I don't know about that one, dog. I don't know about that one. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I'm not going to say that it couldn't happen. It could happen. But I'm not one of those people that thinks that, well, he didn't win the title 6 months into his run, he must be buried, or a lot of people just don't like what's happening. They have no idea of what they could be doing. But I didn't have a problem when he was in the dark room cutting these sinister promos about wanting to hurt people. I like that, and now maybe we go back to that. Maybe that's what we do now, where now he's injured. He's injured his eye. Now he goes back into the dark room. He goes back to his sacred space, and he's now going to be a lot more sinister. And maybe that's the guy that's going to take out Seth Rollins and push his eyeball into the steps. I'll be looking forward to it. But people got to learn to be patient and let stories play out. And you don't have to, it's like people read a chapter in a book and then just start spiking the book like, I hate this. It's like, let the story fucking develop. Pay attention to different angles going on in the story. The story isn't just who's up and who's down, because people are going to go up and down all the time. Pay attention to the trend. And if the heels and baby faces in WWE, the baby face is almost always going to go over. Because Rollins already lost to Drew McIntyre, so he's not going anywhere near the title anytime soon. Are they going to drag this to Hell in a Cell? Maybe. Who the hell knows? But I don't think Aleister Black is going to get buried. And I don't think he's been buried. He's lost 3 matches, and probably everything else I think he's lost has probably been tag team matches. This really doesn't mean anything. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.